Hello, this is Professor Guts here, and I'm going to be telling you what I thought about the original The Exorcist, which is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. So I got a little bit to talk about, though I'll probably be just treading old ground because, honestly, what is there left to be said about The Exorcist? It, it was one of the most shocking films ever made. Like if you just look at any of the old newsreel footage of how people reacted to the film when it originally came out, you got people fainting in the theater, like people just going like having goosebumps, just shaking when they got out, and just like utter terror. And it was a cultural phenomenon. It brought back exorcisms. Like it was pretty much dying out to the point where like let's say the Catholic Church, they would barely even mention it. Heck, even most priests didn't even know what they were. That's how obscure exorcisms were. And then this movie came out, and then boom, everybody and their mothers know about it. To the point that people are like, you know what? Instead of let me say taking what let me my child who's like, oh, most likely he's mentally ill, instead of taking them to a therapist, which is very expensive, let's just, I don't know, let's perform an exorcism. I think that's a cheaper alternative. But anyways, no, to the movie. Now, what I love about it is just, it's very matter of fact. It feels real. Like it isn't like very when I say cinematic, as in having a lot of dolly zooms, sweeping cameras, just very loud music, and just jump scares galore like you'd see in modern possession or haunting movies. Like it almost feels like a documentary, which, considering the director William Friedkin, who had a documentary background. That's actually how his career started. That it actually really it makes the situation feel real, and I love that the first half of the movie you just see like step by step how the possession is proceeding. Like first you see Reagan just like look relatively normal. Then later on, you see bags under her eyes, like pretty much like almost like black slash purple, like skin right here. Just like she looks tired. Like you can tell that Reagan is just trying to fight back the demon that's possessing her. And then later on, you see cuts on her face that are self inflicted from the crucifix that she had under her pillow. And then, well, later on, looking more, well, like what you picture a possessed person looks like. And also, you have the mother who is probably one of my favorite protagonists, and I cannot remember the Which is funny. I'm like, oh, one of my favorite horror protagonists, and I completely forgot her name because I am the absolute worst when it comes to remembering character names. But essentially, how first she just takes her to a doctor, who's like, oh no, she's probably, this might be mental illness, or like she might. So then you see her doing multiple tests, which are how it's shot and how there's like no music. You just hear the loud hospital machinery. It's actually rather disturbing. It's probably the most disturbing moment in the movie. Which I'm like, I don't know why, just like old hospital machinery. Just it gets under my skin of how just off-putting it is. And now you just see her just going doctor to doctor. Like this is pretty much a person that, well, like you're taking the most logical steps before her last resort, which is asking a Catholic priest on like, oh hey, can you perform an exorcism on my daughter? And sorry if I'm just kind of reciting with the plot, but I'm just pretty much just telling what I really love about the movie. Then you also have the very, like, honestly, kind of earnest performances that you have, and like almost everybody in it were not that well known. Like this was Linda Blair's first movie. Max Manzel, I probably mispronounced his name. He was not known at all to most American audiences at the time. Like he was mainly known for a lot of Swedish movies, like in particular like Ingmar Bergman movies, like The Seventh Seal, which is how I know him for. And and pretty much just and like I think that's what really works with the movie is that because they're not just well-known actors, like let me see, oh, we got Jack Nicholson as a priest or something. Like it actually makes the movie more grounded in reality because it's not just oh here's some big beautiful Hollywood actors. I mean you just got people that are actually right for the role and actually look like normal people, like regular people. So it's actually what really helps the movie. And even though I don't, well, I mean, I've seen the movie so many times, I don't really find it that scary anymore. But I do still find it disturbing, and some scenes are actually rather shocking to still. In particular, I would say when Reagan is using the cross in a particular way, and if I say what she's doing, I'll probably get demonetized. So, but what she's doing with the crucifix and how her head doesn't go 360, but just slightly enough to where it's just like way too far, is that scene still not. Well, I would say yeah, it was scared the hell out of me. It's honestly one of those things. It's legitimately scary. Then you also have like the more super when it becomes far more supernatural in the later half of the movie. Like it's still great effects, and I love how the sets were well, like the set for the bedroom was refrigerated. Yes, they actually made like made the room really cold to the point where you can see the actor's breath. And I do want to say the most haunting scene in the movie isn't anything dealing with the actual possession itself. It's more of the main priest, who's, well, let's just say that he still feels guilt of that he didn't do right by his mother, and that basically, instead of, like, how should I say this, as she was becoming what you assume is like it's dementia, that he sent that she's sent to a psychiatric hospital, and then eventually she dies alone, and he wasn't there for her, and he feels guilt for her about it. And the nightmare sequence that you have of her, like, there's just no music, almost no audio, and it's just the most haunting nightmare sequence I've ever seen in a movie. Of her coming out of the subway tunnel and then proceeding going down this, which implies that she might be going to hell. And our priest, like, is running towards her, but he can't do anything to help her. It's a haunting sequence, and also you get to see like a jump cut, like just a flash of the demon. And you see, which unfortunately, The Exorcist 2 names the demon, which is Pazuzu, which takes any threat or like, oh, how scary this thing is away. Like, it's one of the silliest names in film history. And it's funny that I do find The Exorcist 2 to be a hilariously bad movie, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Well, the movie deserves to be recognized as one of the best horror movies ever made, though it's very subjective of whether or not it's scary or not. And I believe because I remember a lot of people find it funny, which it bugs me, but I kind of get it because The Exorcist did get hurt by its own reputation as being considered the scariest movie of all time. And a lot of tastes in horror has drastically changed from the 1970s to now. Like, it's been over 50 years since this movie came out. So, of course, like, tastes are gonna change. And people are not used to this slow burn, like, type of horror movie. Then again, unless you watch a lot of more independent horror, which are more relies on slow burn, but excuse me, I burped. But anyways, general audiences, well, they're more used to stuff like The Conjuring, which is very bombastic when it comes to horror. Like, it treats it more like an action. I would say more. When I say like an action movie, I mean just how the audio visual presentation of it is. Like, there's really, like, I do kind of like those movies, but I wouldn't say that they're the best. Though I did watch the theatrical version because I have seen the director's cut, and I actually still kind of prefer the original theatrical version, mainly because it doesn't have the inserted like jump cuts of Pazuzu's face just matted in for no reason. I just don't know why. Was it made him more scary? Who knows? I can't ask William Friedkin anymore. He sadly passed away earlier this year, so. Oh well. No. As much as I do love the 4K version of this, I still wish I didn't trade in my Blu-ray of The Exorcist because that came with all the special features. And I'm like, crap. Now I have to go buy it all over again. There are some great documentaries on there about the making of The Exorcist. And I'm a sucker for behind the scenes documentaries. So anyways, thank you for watching this. Just me rambling on about The Exorcist. And I hope you enjoy more. I hope you enjoy me rambling more later on in my other videos.